Today I traveled to Fort Erie, Ontario with my 3-year-old son to meet up with my 99-year-old Italian-Canadian Nona. We're here to preserve a family treasure, her spaghetti and meatballs recipe. I wanted to capture her cooking process step by step so that her legacy lives on, and I wanted to explore the science behind what makes her spaghetti and meatballs so delicious. This isn't just about food, it's about family, tradition, and keeping memories alive. But let's get into it. I'm excited to introduce you to Nona Rosa. Okay, Nona, can you tell me your name and how old you are?
My name is Rosa Fiorica. Now I got a 98. And 16 December, making 99.
Oh, wow.
If in my life, I don't know.
What's the secret to living to 99?
The secret? Jesus, no, the secret, no me.
Jesus?
Yeah, Jesus.
Now that we know the secret to living to 99, I'm really interested in the secret to cooking perfect spaghetti and meatballs. And the first secret is to get the right ratio of pork and beef. So what are you doing right now with the beef and the pork?
Yeah, this is, beef and pork.
Is it 50-50? Half and half?
Poteva essere un bondo porco.
Yeah, 1 pound of pork and about 1.5 pounds of ground beef.
Now this is very important. If we just used lean ground beef in our meatballs, then they would be kind of flavorless and dry. So we want to aim for a ratio of about 30% fat to lean meat, which Nona easily achieves by using ground pork, which is quite fatty, and she uses lean ground beef for the lean protein.
Yeah, ora ci metto tomato.
Okay, this is grated,
Pecorino.
yeah,
Oh, well,
pecorino romano,
una mezza tazza di questo.
about 1/2 cup,
So,
okay?
Yeah.
How many eggs?
Yeah, ma io poi mi regolo quando ci li metti. Yeah, almeno a camera ne fa 3.
3 eggs to start.
Dopo ci vuole un altro po'.
Okay, we'll start with 3 eggs. And if we need another one, we'll add it. Okay,
Ok, metti.
and put it in the middle.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, this may seem like a lot of eggs, but there's actually a scientific reason behind it. Eggs are a natural binder. They contain proteins that denature during cooking, and then they coagulate to bind other ingredients together. And without them, the meatballs would be kind of dry and crumbly, and they just fall apart. Egg yolks also contain lecithin, which is a natural emulsifier, which helps to keep the fat and the moisture in the meatballs together and prevents the fat from just leaking out. And most importantly, the eggs keep the texture of the meatball kind of light and airy. If we just had the meat with no eggs, then the meatballs would still stay together somewhat, but they'd be crumbly and quite dense in texture. So that was 4 eggs and 2 cloves of garlic.
2 cloves.
Nona, do you make it the same every time, or do you just go by taste and feel every time you make it?
No, every time. The same.
The same.
Ci guarda che petrusino usato, ma sono.
You could also add minced parsley if you have it.
Ora non metto tantica d'acqua quando la liscio, l'acqua.
Need water?
Tu ce ne metti assai?
No. Taste it.
Oh,
Ora sale ci vuole.
More salt. Okay. We didn't quite put a tablespoon before. We're sprinkling it.
Ok, buono, buono, buono.
so you taste the raw meat
Yeah.
with the raw eggs in it? Nona, have you ever got sick before eating the raw meat?
Che dici?
Dopo lo taste ti senti male che mango è cuciuto? You ever feel sick after?
Yeah, va essere, you know.
No, she says you have to taste it. What do you think?
Sempre di
Rosa?
sapito, eh?
She says it needs more salt.
Yeah, it probably needs a lot more salt.
I think so, too.
E so,
This-
solo l'ultimo.
No, I think it needs a lot more.
Buono, buono, ce ne metti.
Now, I wouldn't recommend eating raw ground beef, particularly because of the Shiga toxin producing E. coli strain that has become quite problematic and quite deadly. Interestingly, it may not have been around or as prevalent when Nona was a younger woman, so it could have been a bit safer to taste the raw ground meat, but it probably wasn't, to be honest. But that doesn't mean that you still can't taste your meatballs as you make them. All you need to do is take a little pinch of the raw meat after you've seasoned it, put it in a pan, get it up to 165 degrees Fahrenheit, which happens almost instantly in a hot pan with such a small amount of meat, and then you can taste it safely and adjust for flavor. This is actually something that I do in sausage making, but I never thought to do it making meatballs, but it makes a lot of sense, and I think it's a very important secret that my Nona has been using for years. Taste for flavor and then adjust. Just remember to cook it first. Okay, moving on to the next step. Nona is now rolling the batter into small meatballs.
Okay, she'll let you.
Okay. Just one.
Yeah, okay.
Just one.
Okay.
So this much?
No,
That's
this
too
is
much.
Too much,
Too much.
see?
This?
Yeah.
Oh, it's still too big. How's that?
It's big.
It's too big.
Come on, Steve.
It's okay, that's right.
Get it right.
There we go.
They all
How's
have to
that?
be the
Yeah.
same.
Does that passes the test?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Who taught you to make these?
Che dici, Giuseppe?
Tutti imparare a fare, tutti imparare a fare questi meatballs.
Come imparare?
Yeah.
Io stessa mi imparavo. Cosa dovete fare e me li imparavo.
You learned by yourself?
Yeah.
You just watched somebody do it? And then you did it?
Somebody.
Your mother didn't teach you? Your mom?
All'Italia manco ne facevo un polpetta.
Oh, in
Kind of.
Italy they didn't make meatballs.
Oh, really?
No.
So you only started making them in Canada?
Yeah.
That's right.
Ah.
Yeah, in Canada mi imparavo a lasagna, a fare lasagna,
It's North America.
e i manicotti.
Okay, but not in Italy.
No.
No. How did you make the
No, in Italia facevo spaghetti, e
Yeah.
facevo i spaghetti.
qua
Qua
usugo?
carne e succo.
Oh, I see. In Italy, they, instead of meatballs, they used meat
Yeah.
in the sauce. Tuzziata or ground?
No, tossiata, la carne, la friggiamo prima tanticchia picca e
Yeah.
poi la mettiamo uno sopra.
Como ground, like
Yeah.
così, macinata, or no?
No,
Okay, no, they didn't have ground beef. So they got pieces of beef cut up small. They would saute it a little bit first and then throw it in the sauce.
One thing that surprised me is that spaghetti and meatballs is not a traditional Italian dish. When Nona was a young girl, they didn't have spaghetti and meatballs in Italy like we know it today. Instead, they'd make simple pasta sauces and take scraps of meat that they could afford and then sear them and put them in the pasta sauce. But when Italian immigrants came to Canada and the US, they found themselves in a land where meat was more affordable and available. For the first time, they could make meatballs in a quantity large enough to be part of a regular meal. And over time, spaghetti and meatballs became a traditional Italian-Canadian and Italian-American dish. It's a beautiful example of how cultures evolve and adapt to new places.
poi
Okay, so you start with that much oil, but then the meatballs will shed some fat as well.
Okay, so a little bit of oil in the pan.
Not too much dry, you know, because when it's so dry, ne salsa no good. Just a little bit fry.
My Nona is not a scientist, but it's interesting that she's mastered the chemical reactions of cooking nonetheless. When the meatballs hit the hot pan, sugars and amino acids on the surface interact to create these golden brown crusts. This reaction, called the Maillard reaction, creates savory flavor compounds that didn't exist before, as well as a crispy texture that enhances the mouthfeel of the meatball. A step Nona can't quite explain scientifically, she just knows it tastes good. Nona, what did you make in Sicily?
Make vegetable soup. Make chicken with real chicken.
The real
soup.
chicken.
Yeah. Make
Minestra.
yeah,
You made soup with real chicken?
yeah.
Doesn't every-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
as opposed to fake chicken?
Yeah, but they had their own chickens.
Oh, so you kill the chicken and then you put it in the soup?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you eat a lot of fish in Italy?
Oh yeah. Oh,
Sardines?
a lot of fish.
Did you bake your own bread? Ubani?
Yeah,
Ubani
facevo pure.
Yeah.
And mignolata?
Mignolate.
E cugerone.
Pizza era italiano?
Yeah, e pizza.
And pizza. Okay, so they made all those in open ovens in Italy.
Cugerone, what's cugerone?
Cugerone?
Yeah.
It's like a vegetable sandwich, but on a cookie sheet.
It's a vegetable sandwich on a cookie sheet, okay. And how did you make the pizza?
You know, the dough, you know, the dough myself, like here, make a pizza. E poi che ci mettevo in una pizza?
Pomodoro.
Pepperoni.
Tomatoes, pepperoni.
Yeah.
What else?
Oil, a little bit of oil. Not a lot of sauce and not a lot of mozzarella. Just a little bit of cheese. Sometimes basil leaves. More like a margarita pizza, but they put pepperoni.
Next up, we're making the sauce. To do that, she's putting about a tablespoon of olive oil in a pot and then sauteing 2 cloves of minced garlic. Now she's adding 3 bottles total of strained tomatoes. Then we add a cup of water and shake the bottles and pour them in. This just thins out the sauce a little bit and adds more volume. Then we add some fresh basil and bay leaves, which my Nona likes to remove after the sauce is done cooking. Nona then tastes the sauce and adds salt and pepper to taste. About 2 teaspoons of salt and a pinch of pepper. This is a common theme. She's constantly tasting and testing and adjusting, which is a really important aspect of any type of cooking. And how long do you simmer them for? How long do you cook them?
Almost, yeah. Quando the salsa is okay, maybe 1 hour. 1 hour.
Simmer for 1 hour?
Oh, yeah.
My no-no or grandfather was an avid gardener, and he produced some of the largest and most flavorful vegetables or verdura in Fort Erie. They would then take the fresh tomatoes, remove the skin and the seeds, and then grind them up to make a sauce. And this is actually the exact meat grinder they used to make the sauce, which my Nona gave to me years ago. This is another one of my Nona's secret. Freshness means everything. Each vegetable and herb adds its own burst of flavor. There's just no substitute for tomatoes ripened on the vine or basil just picked from the garden. The focus on fresh ingredients is why Italian food in general is so vibrant and delicious. Now for the last step, Nona brings a pot of water to a boil to cook the spaghetti. To do that, she takes a box of spaghetti and breaks the bundles in half to make them easier to eat. Then she adds about 3 teaspoons of salt, and as she boils it, she leaves the lid a little bit open so it doesn't boil over. Now this is another one of Nona's secrets. Always salt your pasta water, and add a lot more salt than you think you need because there's a lot of water in the pot and you need a lot for that salt to penetrate into the spaghetti. And as the salt penetrates into the spaghetti, it just adds so much flavor. It is an essential step. And finally, once the pasta is done to Nona's liking, she strains the spaghetti and adds a few ladles of sauce directly to it just for some base flavor. People can then add more sauce to their plate at the table. And finally, we plated the dish in a big bowl with some meatballs, some basil, some pecorino romano. Throughout this experience cooking with my Nona, I learned that spaghetti and meatballs is more than just a recipe. It's a testament to the immigrant experience, to adapting and creating something new while holding on to tradition. My Nona's spaghetti and meatballs bring together her Italian heritage with the new life she and my Nono built here in Canada. It's a dish that holds so many layers of family history and love. For me, combining this family tradition with the understanding of the science behind it feels like a bridge between past and future. A way to keep my Nona's legacy alive and pass it on to my own children and someday to their children. This video is for my Nona and my 2 sons, so they both know that food is more than ingredients and techniques. Grazie Nonna, ti vogliamo bene con tutto il cuore.